Evening, everyone. It's Thursday night, 6:01. Sorry, we're a minute late. I'm joined here by Kyle and late to the party, just on time in the garden, sitting down with a bit of sweat. Sean, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Can indeed. Yeah, I've got all kinds of red marks coming up saying we're not streaming anywhere. So we're just going to have it checked if we are actually streaming anywhere.
There he is.
Better late than never, eh?
I've got every Facebook with a fail at the moment, so we may or may not be streaming to Facebook, but we are on YouTube.
Oh, dear.
We are on LinkedIn, so
Could
we're
be
going to
worse.
carry on regardless. Gents, thanks for joining me.
It's all right. Sorry I'm late.
So,
I'm doing well in the aircon. Sean's doing well in the garden. Chris is sitting in the dark. We're unsure why at this point.
It's the mood lighting.
Is it to keep the heat down?
That as well, yeah. And to save energy bills.
Environmentally friendly. So the big news and the big things this week are for 3 of the 4 of us, I think, on here. Kids are back to school.
Yep.
Back to school. Fortunately, they're home at the moment.
We can't put them in school 24 hours a day, but
I wish. Yeah.
it's a bit pricey, boarding school. So we'll stick away from that topic. But what people need to know and what people watching will be interested in is how that changes a market when kids go back to school. There's a massive change in the housing market through the summer holidays, and then we hit August bank holiday into September. And guys, on the ground, Kyle, Chris and Sean, how does the market change when we hit the first week of September, and what happens?
Just goes crazy.
nuts.
Just listings are on, properties are on the market. People are back to business.
For us, I mean, August was still mega busy for us. You know, it was our second highest listing month of the year. So it was still good for us. But I think in terms of answering your question, I agree with Sean. It's going to get busier. Definitely. You know, it's already getting busier. You know, we've had an uplift in viewings being booked in this week across the board with everything we're marketing. So yeah, that's the norm, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for me, I've sort of seen a slightly different trend, and I've sort of said it to a few people I've been seeing recently. In terms of buyer registrations, I've seen quite a sharp increase coming through from the end of July. So there seems to be buyers who are trying to get ahead of the rush. So actually now the properties are coming to the market. I'm finding that there are buyers there good to go that have already been looking at a couple. And for me, July was my best month this year. August has been strong still. So it's a nice position to be in as we come into September, because there's stuff there bubbling and about to go off. So I think we're going to have a really strong, good run into the end of the year.
Good.
Yeah, it's there's a new countdown, I think, that comes into play as soon as we hit September.
You're going
Chris's
to say
favourite time of the year. I'm going there.
You're going to say, aren't you?
It's the Christmas market. If you want to be moved before, people make decisions. They think, right, let's get this done before New Year. It is still possible in the right circumstances.
We're one of them. So
you're one of them.
Yeah.
Putting the pressure on. Make sure you get the right system. Take your own advice.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris, you look like a floating head on my screen. It's just floating in the darkness.
That's kind of what I was going for.
That is quite weird, isn't it?
I'm trying to think what TV show it was. You just remind me of.
probably one from the 90s that's been banned subsequently.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does make a big difference. We saw a huge influx of valuations, market appraisals as soon as we hit bank holiday weekend, which means people are waiting to get the holidays out of the way, get the kids back to school, get the house put back together before they can put their houses back on the market, which means for clients there's going to be more choice, and potentially, where do we think that's going to make house prices go? Because that's my second topic, is house prices.
I think a lot of that's going to be fueled by what hopefully will continue to happen with the rates. to a certain degree, I think, because I think that has alienated a lot of people from doing something, from moving. We've obviously seen the positives recently in consecutive weeks. We're seeing rates come down. We saw obviously what HSBC did with their rates this week. So, that hopefully becoming the trend. I mean, we all know we're not going to see the 1% and sub 1% and stuff, or even 2% probably for a decade. 4% or something would probably end up being the norm, won't it? So I think just people getting some confidence that it's going to settle down, I think will fuel the busyness of the market. In terms of what it's going to do with the prices, I mean, can we often be of mixed opinion this, can't it? But I don't think we're going to see much more happen with prices. I think on the basis that confidence comes back from the rate situation that we've all of us have faced these past few months. So yeah, I don't think we're going to see a drastic change. I might be wrong. There might be a difference of opinion around the table here, but I don't think it will be too much different now. I think we'll be hopefully fairly level.
So where do we think rates are going in September? Firstly, from the Bank of England, and secondly, from the actual banks.
Carl, you take this one.
Yeah.
He's ready. He's poised, isn't he?
Yeah, he's ready.
I think now Bank of England will just keep doing what the Bank of England will do. Once, maybe twice more. But they can do another 10 times. I think the mortgage rates will just keep going on the direction they've been going. I think it's the beginning of the end. The end is in sight.
I think they've peaked. I think I think we've hit the peak of it now, and I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. I had a really valid point there. I'll come back to it.
It'll come back to you. It's been a hot day. It's been a hot day, Chris.
It has, yeah.
I think what we've seen over the last 7 days or so is the big players, HSBC and Nationwide, drop their rates in the week leading up to when rates are traditionally reviewed. There's still talk in the media, like Carl said, of one, maybe two more Bank of England base rate rises, but the banks don't seem to be passing that on in mortgage terms to the customers. Obviously, we all know, and it's been talked about week after week, that mortgages are more based on swap rates. So the price that banks pay for their money rather than Bank of England interest rates. But Bank of England rates obviously dictate standard variable rates if you're on that type of mortgage. So new mortgage rates, fixed terms, seem to be relatively level, starting around about 5%, going up to 6%. Halifax reckon house prices have dropped £14,000 in a year across the UK. We're spread across Berkshire, Hampshire and Surrey here. I've got the Berkshire hat, as does Kyle. I think that's probably quite realistic, quite fair, an actual true stat.
I think it is. I think they were the report up to the end of June was that it was a national average of a 4.7% down year on year, which I think actually, and we demonstrated it in quite a few instances where that did stack up with quite a few properties that we sold around June and July. So yeah, I don't disagree with that in terms of the percentage. Monetary, my math isn't that good off the top of my head. So yeah, I think that actually is fairly accurate.
Yeah, I mean, we're working with above UK average house prices because we're all based in the southeast. So the 14K will probably be magnified a little bit, in comparison to the entire UK. But we put that in context, and it's what the media don't do, is put things in context. A 4.8% drop in house prices is against somewhere in the region of a 20% increase in the previous 2 years. So whilst this is the biggest house price fall in 14 years, house prices only dropped once in the last 14 years. So of course it's the biggest fall, because there was only one other fall, and that was a minor one in about 2012, I think. So it's I'm going to use a buzzword, a correction. Dawn?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's nothing really that's putting people off. I mean, around Basingstoke, the average house price being around the 300,000. If you're selling at 295 instead of 300, people are like, just want to move, just want to find the house still. and people are still fighting for properties at the moment, despite more listings coming on the market. I mean, myself, I've got about 25 viewings I'm doing this Saturday, 12 of which on one property. So there's, regardless of house prices coming down, people aren't, waiting for them to come down any further. They're just trying to get the houses.
I think it's a very fair thing to say is if you already own a home and you're thinking about moving, house prices changes really don't affect you too much, because if house prices go up by 20%, well, what you're selling is up by 20 and what you're buying is up by 20. If they go down by 20, the same thing happens. So these movements in house prices really don't affect you if you're moving from a 3-bed to a 4-bed or a 4-bed to a 3-bed, unless they're massive changes, in which case upsizing can be a good time or downsizing can be a very good time in some cases. I've been looking at some numbers because it seems to be what I do for a living.
Really?
Yeah. So I was looking at the average house price drop being £14,000 a year, and I looked at my mortgage, and it showed me that for every month I pay my mortgage, I knock off £900 worth of debt from my mortgage every single month. So I'm paying about £11,000 worth of the debt off my property every year. So I can't, in my twisted mathematical way, I kind of took that as it's costing me the interest plus £3,000 this year to live in my house. I then looked at what it would cost me to rent the equivalent house in my area. So the interest on my mortgage plus the £3,000 worked out to be about 11,000 quid. And renting the same house 30 to 35.
It's crazy, isn't it?
So whilst house prices are dropping, and you've got to take my maths and my sort of fag packet style with a pinch of salt, it's not financial advice in any way, shape or form. Renting versus buying, I looked at it and thought, I reckon I'm still about 25k up this year. Is anyone following me? And did that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Chris, you said looking to buy before Christmas, currently and rented. What's your rationale behind that? Same? Or, I mean, no one's going to have the same weird common sense as I just had.
No one's going to be able to explain that other than you, especially live.
But Alan from The Hangover with numbers just flashing up on the screen. That gif coming up for a second there.
But yeah, we're buying a place at the moment just because it's the right time for us. I mean, yes, our mortgage payment's more expensive than if we'd have done it last year, but yeah, potato as far as I'm concerned. I mean, yes, it's costing us more money, but we're also buying a house, that is going to it's costing us less money than it would have last year as well. So it swings and roundabouts. Yeah, a bit of short-term pain for long-term gain in terms of the mortgage repayments, but they'll change. The rate we've got is actually pretty good. So yeah, I think, if I was that concerned about the market and everything that was wrong with it, well, I sure as hell wouldn't be moving myself at the moment, would I? So I think you've just got to be pretty clued up to it, as most buyers and sellers are these days. But yeah, I think it's a good time, as long as it's affordable.
A few questions coming in this evening. Matt and Elliot, big in the YouTube game, working out of the Telford area. The UK housing market must be reasonably strong and robust not to have crashed during the cost of living crisis. What do you guys think?
I'm not taking this one. I keep taking them all. So come on, you.
We could be here for hours sort of discussing this one. It's a great question. But yeah, I'd say it is robust. We've had to adjust a lot as an industry. We've had to be very reactive. We've had to deal with the unexpected on a consistent basis, and not even just through the past few months, but the past few years. And I think it's, given where we are now, I think it's just testament to the UK housing market. It is strong. It still needs improving and adjusting, but it's a strong market. it's wild. It's been wild at times. It's like definitely like one to tell the kids about. Like some of the stories that we've been able to tell over the past few months, you wouldn't have believed if you were going back sort of 5 years. And I mean, like one of the things we haven't spoken about, so we're talking about the sort of 14k drop. From my side, what I've seen a lot of, and it's getting better, but obviously we all know what happened last October. And a lot of agents just carried on with the traditional way. If your house is worth 500, we'll put it on at 550 and you'll settle somewhere in between. And those houses have just kept doing silly little reductions. And we've spoken about this before. If the house is worth 500, they end up getting to 475. Some of them maybe even 450 before they then sell themselves. Like we've all kind of got ahead of the curve, followed the market accurately, made the change we needed to make. It was painful at times. But it's testament to where we are now. We're still selling loads of houses, and there are still some properties that I'm seeing that are still on the market, that came on the market literally last year, because they stuck with the old traditional way. So we're talking about 14 grand. I'm like, for some people, they've done all right if they've only lost 14 grand because they've had the wrong advice at the wrong time.
I think there's a phrase which is used inside a estate agency, which I don't know if it's used outside. Again, it's a bit of jargon, chasing the market. Will say to someone, don't chase the market down, which broadly means if you overprice your house and miss the first good couple of weeks of marketing, you'll end up then reducing it to probably what you would have sold it for, and then having to reduce further under the price you would have originally got because you've missed the best marketing time. And if the market is dropping by £1,000 a month or whatever it is, £1,500 a month, that extra time that it's taken you to sell your house has come off the value in the time that you've been messing around as an agent or as a seller, depending on who is kind of pushing that price agenda, as Kyle said, whether it's the agent who is still marketing how they were marketing in a hot market, or whether it's a seller who has expectations above what they should have. So the key from that, don't chase the market down, be realistic in the first place, and you'll get probably what Sean's got, 12, 15, 20 viewings on your first weekend, because there is an absolute motivation for people to be there. Next question. I'm pretty sure Ian's supposed to be putting the kids to bed, but he's watching. I don't know. Grace and Lily are watching too, and it's good for, it's better than in the night garden. Talk to me about modern auction results. Are they worth it? So we've sold 2 properties via modern auction this week, guys. I hate the phrase modern auction. I think it should be banned, firstly. However, I prefer secure sale. 2 sales that have been, the property has been sold and exchanged within 2 weeks of listing. So massive security for the seller. And as far as not chasing the market downwards, they've got in and got out of this market in incredibly quick time. So if they are in a situation where their mortgage has gone from £600 to £2,500 because they just cannot secure a new rate and they've been forced onto a variable rate, they'll be out of that situation pretty damn quick. Kyle, I know you've been dealing with a few modern auction properties recently.
Is Sean about to get attacked by pigeons?
Sorry?
Is Sean about to get attacked by pigeons? All I can hear is pigeons cooing in the background. Sorry.
They're all on the fence.
I don't know. I can't see any.
Sorry, God, I interrupted.
It's definitely not me.
All right.
Anyway.
Kyle, who's the best client, and why would you use modern auction or secure sale?
Yeah, I guess like when you think about selling your house, you're thinking about it all being happy, fluffy. You're upsizing, you're downsizing. Those pigeons are back. No idea where they're coming from. But not every single house sale is the kind of the standard format, and there are a range of different reasons as to why people are selling, and sometimes why they need to release that equity quickly. And we could be here until midnight going through all the different reasons why. But yeah, the secure sale format is a perfect solution for those people. I know, sort of, modern auction, secure sale. I'd say it's better because that's exactly what it is. But you still get all of the great avocado marketing, branding, advertising. Potentially, I think, wasn't there one that literally came on the market and was wrapped up and exchanged in a space of a week? It was done, dusted. That was it. So it could be that swift. And there was, for some people, that's perfect. This time next week, the equity could be in the bank account. Depending on your situation. For some people, it's a no-brainer versus worst case, I guess, being repossessed or just putting yourself through months of stress that you don't need to. You might be one of those that's been on the market since last December. You've borrowed and borrowed and borrowed to make it this far, and you feel that you're out of options. In the next agent might be the one to sell it, but you could be looking at 3 to 6 months until completion, and whatever's going to happen may well happen before that. A secure sale takes that stress and pressure away. It's a really, really good format. I've got one at the moment with the auction date coming up in the next couple of weeks. I've got something very exciting, which I should be able to talk more about from next week, which will fit this format perfectly. And I've actually already think I've got a couple of buyers for it. So that should be one that's done before Christmas. There we go. Say Christmas again.
So the average sale, guys, taking 4 months in the region of to go through. If house prices are dropping by 0.5% a month, you've lost 2 to 2.5% of your house price. Potentially selling the property at a lower price at auction will give you that difference where you're exchanging on a fixed price today rather than what happens if it falls through in 3 to 4 months when my buyer decides it wasn't the right property for them. Sean's popped off to kill the pigeons.
I'm going to shoot the pigeons away.
I've got a Chinook flying above me now, so I was quickly muting, but I turned off the camera. Sorry, wasn't being rude.
that will get rid of the pigeons.
You could just hear it instead. Yeah, exactly.
So
I think it's great. I think the modern auctions is, it just gives people more choice. I mean, there's in finance, you've got choice of withdrawing money from a credit card if you're strapped for cash. You've got bridging loans if you want to buy something before selling, and it just gives people more choice. How to deal with your money, especially if you're equity rich and you've got a lot of equity in a property. I think it's just brilliant. You can have the money next week, boom, sorted. I mean, if you want to start an investment or go buy a couple of properties and you're up against other people, spread the risk over dropping, a bit off the price to get it done quickly, and then you can do what you want with your money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Christmas round the corner. Chris is going to be moved before Christmas. You heard it here first. He has committed. If you're his fiance, he has committed. He has told us it's going to happen. There is no pressure.
I'm just waiting for the text message.
Mike said that this is happening. We talked about an incoming number of valuations that come in at the start of September. There's obviously going to be buyers who watch these broadcasts. What are we likely to see listing over the next 2 to 3 weeks? Will those properties be available to move into before Christmas, or is it pipe dream? Let's put our necks on the line.
I think from our perspective, with what we've got coming up over the next couple of weeks, we are aiming to have it. I was going to say a word which is not a word. Facilitator. There's definitely not a word. Facilitatable. But
backability.
Yeah, there you go. But we want to be able to facilitate that, because I think that's gonna. I think if as a seller, if you're able to. Sorry, my daughter's putting me off. What is she doing? Sorry. Sorry, grabbing a drink. That's completely throwing me. Basically, we want to be able to facilitate that on the basis that it's a big selling point. I think from buyers no one wants to be stuck in a chain. It's inevitable because it's the nature of our business. But if you can buy something and you're able to have that ability to be able to say, right, well, I'm a chain-free buyer, or I've already sold my house, I'm ready to go, and you're hitting that end goal from the outset. So I think it's a big selling point to be able to, as a seller, to be able to sell your house with no chain. That's what attracted even to the place that we're buying. So yeah, that was a big thing for us. So I think being able to do that is super important.
Last question of the day, and I'm going to throw everyone in this. What's the strangest median or place that you've listed a property from? And I'll give you a reason for this. One of our agents has just been instructed on a property on the Strava app. What's the weirdest way anyone's ever contacted you?
I know exactly who that's going to be as well. Well, we all do.
we all know who the agent is, don't we?
Yeah.
They're the king of Strava. It's probably the leading Strava athlete in the UK right now. What's the weirdest place someone's ever got hold of you and said, "Hey, I've got a house to sell. Can you help me?"
So I don't mind go first because this is quite recent. This partner will know exactly who they are, and we'll probably all know who this partner is. I had a phone call just before this, so this was not myself, but it's the lead that someone else has generate. It's come to them, and I'm going with possibly from Tinder. So I won't name the partner, but they've given me a call. Someone's contacted me, and can you value this? I will leave that where it is.
I understand they're now retired from Tinder.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they are now.
Chris, weirdest place. Sean's lopped off, so Sean's got a really good one. Off camera, clearly.
The pigeons have disrupted the signal.
Pigeons have gone through his cables.
I haven't got one that's like funny. I mean, yeah, it's the usual, isn't it? It's the socials, Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot. But I mean, I've had a listing discussion while I've been on a ski lift before. I suppose it's a little bit out there. And which ended up.
There's not many ski lifts knocking around Frimley and Camberley.
There's definitely not. It was on one of those very, very, very rare occasions that I ever take any time off. That was that was a little while ago. And that did lead to an instruction that that ended up selling. So yeah, that's probably it, I think, for me.
Not bad. Sean, any anecdotes to the strangest place you've ever been asked to list a property?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I went on a holiday in Cyprus, just got chatting to someone. I said, "What do you do?" I'm an estate agent. Oh, kids, we're having all these issues. Blah 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 blah. Can't sell our agent. Agents are this and that. I said, "Whoa." If you came to me, and then I literally found out she was on the market I was working in Camberley at the time. She was on the market in bag short of someone else. Basically signed her up in my swim shorts in Cyprus. So that was
Small world, not bad.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike?
I was going to stick with a Strava story. I hadn't prepared my own answer, but I have been instructed on a rental property at the urinals in a pub.
Brilliant.
It's just one of those things when you place your face all over social media, someone recognises you. Like you say, it's a bit like being on the ski lift, isn't it? You're a captive audience. You have to talk to them. They have to talk to you, and you gain a listing from going to the toilet. And yes, I did wash my hands. Thank you very much. So, gents, wrapping up on this evening's slightly strange conversation, interrupted by pigeons. House prices have dropped. The key as a seller to combating those drops is not chasing the market. Be mindful of interest rates. They will be reviewed in the next week or so, but we believe we're reasonably stable until the end of the year. And if you want a maths lesson, don't come to me, but we have a firm belief based on my maths that buying a property and owning a property is still far, far more practical than renting. So if you've got any questions, as ever, and you didn't watch live, put them on any of the socials at the bottom. We will come back to you. We will do our best to answer the questions. If there's anything more you want to know, if you ever want us to discuss anything specific other than listing rental properties in the urinals, we will always do so. And we'd love to. go through your topics on a live episode. So until next Thursday, it's thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.